we are live again. Hello. I have, you're probably getting sick of seeing my face on your feeds now. I don't care. Michelle and I have been saying sorry, not sorry all week. We are flooding your social media feeds this week with conversations, interviews, experts, expertise, resources, tools, and information to help banish burnout. And I'm going to start this the same way that I've been saying everything really all day. 2024, I think, based on conversations that I was having throughout particularly towards the end of 2023, I think we are going to see a huge increase in the numbers of burnout throughout 2024 and possibly also into 2025. Every single one of those numbers, every single statistic, and every single percentage is a person that is experiencing burnout. And we have to ensure that we are all doing everything we can as individuals, as leaders, as employers, as family, as friends, as loved ones, to ensure that we are banishing burnout as much as we possibly can. I know that we can prevent it. My next guest is going to be talking to you about her own experiences. She's going to be talking to you about the signs, and she's going to be talking to you about life after burnout, because there is one. And all of us that are talking to you throughout this week are all, I'm going to say thriving, really, actually. But from my personal perspective, I would much rather be thriving without the long-lasting impact of burnout. Amy, Laura and Barry that I was talking to on Monday said that they would definitely go through, or Laura would definitely go through burnout again in order to come through the other side and thrive. I'm the complete opposite. I would rather avoid it altogether and still hopefully get the same kind of lessons. Is that possible? I have no idea, but I know that we can prevent burnout. I know we can banish it. I know we can have the realizations and life-changing decisions without the long-lasting impact of burnout. And that's why these weeks, these conversations are so important. So on that note, I'm going to bring on my next guest. And you'll probably all be very, very pleased to know this is my last conversation of today. I'm going to be still sharing, and I'll still be behind the scenes. But Michelle Hartley is going to be taking the reins this afternoon, my amazing co-host for this year's Big Burnout conversation. My next guest is going to talk to you. She's just had, we've just been talking backstage before she's kind of come on. She's just had the absolute trip of a lifetime. She has been chasing icebergs. She's been seeing all sorts of lots of amazing things. Before Christmas, she celebrated a big birthday. And today is her first day back after this life-changing trip. So I'm even more grateful that she's been able to come and join us today. So I'm going to welcome to the stage Lorraine Eivers. Lorraine, hey, how are you?
Hi, Kaylee. I'm good, thank you.
Good.
Yes, as you say, first day back.
Beautifully to the purple.
Oh, absolutely. It's always got to be the purple.
I love it. So thank you very much. So before we get started, I want to hear a little bit about you. And I want you to share this kind of trip that you've just been on. So I've just said you've been kind of chasing icebergs. So before we kind of get into the who are you and what do you do, tell us about this trip, because I think it's just amazing.
About this trip?
Yeah.
So I've just had my big 60th on Christmas Eve, and my husband bought me a trip to Antarctica to celebrate. So we have been starting in South America. We went from Chile, worked our way down through the Drake's Passage, and we were lucky that it was flat calm. Worked our way down to Antarctica and cruised around there. We didn't actually go on land because it's only expeditions that do that, but we were the first ever passenger ship to observe the A23 iceberg. This is the biggest iceberg in the world, 3 times the size of New York. It was utterly awesome to see this. And then we made our way up to the Falklands, and my husband is a veteran, so that was a particularly poignant and emotional day for us. And then we made our way up to Uruguay and ended up in Argentina. So it's been a whole mix of 30 plus degrees down to, it didn't actually go minus, believe it or not, but to freezing, and we did have snow and ice.
Yeah.
So you can imagine the packing for that holiday.
Yes. That wouldn't be my ideal trip to pack for. The size definitely, but yeah.
It was a challenge, but honest, I said to you, we're still trying to process it because it was just an absolute overload of the senses, and I honestly feel humbled and privileged to have made that trip, because I know that not many people have or can do that.
Yeah, so well, thank you for sharing. It does sound phenomenal. So of course, first day back at work, let's land you back with a bump, shall we? And let's talk about burnout, which is I hope a very kind of stark contrast to the incredible trip that you've just had, and obviously another milestone birthday, which is amazing. So happy 60th for Christmas Eve. It's lovely to kind of have you back with us. So before we dig into your story, Lorraine, just give us a little bit. Who is Lorraine and what do you do?
Okay, so I'm now the HR career coach that helps HR professionals find work they love. So it's taken me a little while to niche down to that, but that's where I get my sense of purpose. It's where I know that I make a difference to my clients' life. So I help people who are coming into HR, who are moving across, who are moving up, or who are moving out of HR. So that's what I specialize in now, and you can find me on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. But before that, I spent 30 years in HR. So starting from personnel assistant back in the day.
I know the days where
working up to HR director, and I worked across various sectors, initially the private, moving into public, and then laterally into the third sector. And I've played various roles: specialist, generalist, I've been a consultant, I've been a manager, so across the whole gambit. So I bring all that experience to the table with my coaching now. So you were talking about your throat. I think I've caught that as well.
we may both be jumping backstage to just cough and stutter and drink all the way through. But we're going to see where we go. We're definitely going to add value with this. Yeah. So we just pause whenever you want, Lorraine. If you need just, you can mute your mic at the bottom. I think so. If ever you need anything, just mute. And get whatever kind of drinks you need. And I'm going to be doing the same. I've already pre-warned Lorraine that if I start to have a really bad coughing fit, I'm going to vanish off the screen, and Lorraine is going to take over the conversation like a pro. So we are going to be talking for the next kind of 40 minutes or so.
So blessed, Kelly, to have a really great career, and saddened that it ended with burnout. So it was during COVID, like many people, when HR was absolutely catapulted to the forefront. And I was in the third sector. So we were an organisation that had care homes. So we had that additional pressure there as well. So, I was literally working 16 and 18-hour days sometimes, just, to deliver what was needed. And it was also a time where we had recruitment difficulties. We had difficulties in my team. I was part of a very lean senior management team at the time. I was one of 3 directors, and on top of all of that, our organisation went through a complete change of board. Absolutely, the whole board was reconstituted. So. We had a new board coming in with different ideas about where the organisation was going, and different ideas about how we should deliver certain things. And that was very challenging. And you can imagine a new board, everybody's vying for top dog place. So it was that challenge there that a lot of people wouldn't have seen going on, but also all the challenges of basically trying to support everybody, adapt to lockdown, home working, new technology, all the different rules and regulations. So, of course, as HR, we're the ones that are glued to the TV, absorbing all those ever-changing guidelines, trying to make sense of it and communicate it. And at the same time, we've got all the different challenges from the top, and also in my team challenges, people off sick, people with other challenges. I can't really share, but safe to say they weren't there. So I'm covering for my team, I'm covering for some of my directors as well, because they've also got issues in their team. So it was a tinderbox just waiting to happen. It really was. And, you know, being locked in our rooms, I mean, my commute was across this corridor to this office. I used to have a 3-hour journey there and back. I was able to, deconstruct.
Yeah.
Absolutely, get my music on and just, or podcasts or whatever. I'd lost all of that. Plus, I'm quite a sociable bunny, and I'm really close to my family and friends, and not being able to have that release that we normally have. And I've got a sister in care. I wasn't able to see her, and that broke my heart, So that and all that other personal stuff that we all had going on as well. But hindsight's great, Kelly, isn't it? When you look back and you think, actually, yes, all that was going on, you weren't able to have your normal release. And then when you do the work in yourself as well, and I now look back and I know I had these traits that were not serving me well. I was an utter perfectionist. I was the high achiever. I was the controller. And, in my family, I was always the strong one, where everybody would come to me. So I was just trying to make everything okay in that workplace. Oh, you're down a person, let me help you. Oh, that project, let me step in here.
Yeah.
Trying to be effing superwoman.
Yeah. And so, and this is one question that I want to kind of ask. And you've seen me on stage, kind of talking about burnout and the kind of impact on HR in 2020. But I think what I saw from a lot of HR people, and particularly some of the people that I was talking to that were working in things like education, healthcare, social care, within the NHS, organisations where, and there were others in the sector, but for those where you had to have people on site, you had to continue to do the role. Do you think from your own situation, this may be a bit of a weird question to ask, but what I observed and heard from some was that, particularly for some in HR, it was I want to say the kind of, lack of awareness isn't the right word, but at the moment I can't think of anything else, but it was almost like a kind of lack of awareness that you as an individual were also going through the COVID, the lockdown and everything else, because you just had to stay in fix it mode and support it mode. And we know that, a lot of the updates on all of the workplace stuff were happening at 5 o'clock on a Friday, because clearly you've worked hard enough all week anyway. You've then got to spend all weekend or all Friday evening doing all of the updates and changing all of the processes and procedures ready for operations, either at some point, like immediately if you're in something like care, or on a Monday morning for lots of different people. And do you think you had the lockdown experience, or do you think you were so far into trying to keep everything going that you were maybe going through a different experience than perhaps some of your family and friends would have been doing?
Yes, I do. I think there is something about those caring type professions where you do, and especially as HR, you go into that mode of, I need to be that person to support everybody else.
Yeah.
And remember, we did that event about, you need to put your oxygen mask. We were forgetting about that there was even such a thing as an oxygen mask. We were carrying on. Somebody described it as compassion overload.
Yeah.
And yes, I was, aware that friends and family, but we kind of went into that mode of, oh, we're okay, we've got WhatsApp, we can have a wee chat. But I saw myself eventually just backing away from all of that. I became so distant from my family and friends. And you know, one of the things I remember, because I'm a Christmas baby, I love Christmas. And I look back and I realize I opened some presents in April. I just wasn't even interested in Christmas. And, you know, I didn't see it happening, Kelly. I just, you know, I was aware at first, oh, I'm not sleeping well. Oh, I've got palpitations in the night. And gosh, sometimes I feel like I'm going to have a heart attack. Oh, it's just stress. You know, we're all working hard, and you sort of think that you're just one of many, that this is just normal. And then, you know, things like the hair starts falling out, and you know, your skin looks awful, and these palpitations and headaches and everything just get worse and worse. But again, you're just thinking, oh, it's just stress ramping up a bit. And I think it's not until you've distanced yourself and are able to look back that you see you were completely disengaged from family and friends, because you felt you didn't want to burden them. You felt like that you didn't really have anything to contribute to, you know, joyful conversations anymore. And I know I was irritable. My poor husband, you know, he was just getting it left, right, and centre. And then when we did actually get out, obviously we were able to go and shop. And I remember one situation, and this is not like me at all. The guy in the till, it was Aldi, and he said, oh, this till's closing, sent me to another till. Off I go. And then he reopens, and but other people are in front of me. And I just let rip at this guy in the middle, and like everybody's looking at me, and I'm like, oh, who is this person? What have I done? And, you know, and I really, I didn't recognize who I was looking at in the mirror. And I didn't recognize this unsociable, irritable bitch that I had become. And it was frightening, actually.
And do you think we talk about, don't we, this kind of pinnacle moment when it comes to burnout? There is like the thing for Michelle that, you know, for her it was kind of putting her mascara on in the morning and just thinking, I've cried it off so many times already this morning, I can't believe I'm doing it again. For me, it was a conversation with my sons. Was that kind of moment in Aldi your pinnacle moment of something has to change, or did that come later? What did that moment start for you?
Well, that actually, I wasn't really aware of the significance of that moment. Okay. Everything comes later. So for me, it was the return to work after the Christmas break. So the Christmas break hadn't been a break. I wasn't interested.
So we're talking 2021, yeah? So kind of January 2021.
Yeah. And so the 5th of January is already a difficult day for me. Both my mum and dad died on that day, 21 years apart. So I had that day, and we were due to go back to work on the 6th of January. And I woke up and I thought, oh, you know, you're always going to feel a bit ugh this time of year. And I walked across the corridor, and I literally, my body wouldn't function. And I couldn't even switch my laptop on. And and I'm not somebody who cries a lot. I was inconsolable. I was just sitting at my desk at the time. I've got rid of all the furniture because it was all these horrible memories. So I've revamped this office so it doesn't look like that place where this happened. But I just sat there sobbing into my hands for hours. And my boss wasn't actually at work that day. So I phoned my colleague, and I'm sure she just thought, oh, it's January. Lorraine doesn't like January. She just needs a day. I never went back, Kelly. But it took 10 months for me to be released from the organisation. So that was really quite difficult, and I did get help. I think when you crash to that level, you've just got to, because, well, what, you're going to be hospitalised otherwise if you don't actually say something's wrong here. I need help, and I literally.
What help did you get at that time, Lorraine?
Well, it took a little while to actually get the help, because there's that stage where it's like grief, where you're utterly numb, and I literally went to my bed for weeks and just, you're lucky if I brushed my teeth of a day. And so obviously speaking with my boss then, and we had employee counselling, and you could you get access to some really good counselling through that. So that was the support that I had, and also through my GP. Now, remember, at that time you couldn't get near your GP for love and money. So it was our practice nurse, and she was brilliant, actually. Now, she did offer me medication, and I really didn't want to take the medication. I know it works for some people, but I just.
And what was she giving you medication for? Did she know at that point that it was kind of burnout, or was she kind of, what was she saying? Anxiety, depression? What was she kind of talking about?
Anxiety, work-related stress.
Okay.
And then it became anxiety. But interesting, burnout was not a word that was used at all. And in fact, maybe not even with a counsellor either.
So it was still, so you were talking about work-related stress through the counselling, and that's what the practice
was. Through the practice, yeah. It was almost like burnout was a taboo word, actually.
And why do you, that's an interesting thing to make. Why do you think that it was a taboo word?
I think because there's no education around it. And I think that it was something, I'd like to think that now people approaching the surgery, that there would be an understanding of burnout, but I just don't think there was that understanding, or that even that education in the world of medicine or counselling. I think it's changing slightly, but back then I just don't really feel that there was that knowledge and understanding.
And do you think, with hindsight, do you think if burnout had been mentioned, do you think you would still have gone down exactly the same course and got exactly the same treatment? Do you think you would have done anything differently?
I think I probably would have gone down the same path.
Yeah. So the support and the outcome would have been the same.
Yes.
Do you think the language that was used, though, so do you think them saying work-related stress versus burnout, do you think that would have made a difference to you as an individual?
Yes, it would have. It would have validated that this was something bigger and more deeper and impactful on my life.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because again, we can assume, can't we, that and I think for lots of us still, and one of the conversations that we've had first thing this morning is particularly those that go back to work after a period of absence due to burnout. If we think about it as just workplace stress, and that could, we know chronic workplace stress can have a huge impact on health and emotions and mental health and all of those sorts of things. But I think you're right in that the education piece around burnout isn't there, because for a lot of us, we just assume if we reduce the stress and or give you some pills and you get a counsellor, then you're fine again, right? Because you haven't got the stress. What's wrong with you? But actually, we know now burnout can have the same impact on our brains and our bodies as trauma. It can take 3 years and longer to come through. This isn't just take the stress away and everything is going to be okay, because it can have that long lasting impact on you. So I think it's important there that you say there in terms of the validation, in that it was more than just stress.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll tell you the one person now, he didn't use the word burnout. It was the occupational health doctor. And he recognized that you can't just go back to work and make this okay.
Yeah.
And, you know, through discussion with him, you know, I said, look, there is a load of platitudes that, okay, come back, you know, we'll make it okay, we'll do this, we'll do that. And I knew that might happen for a week, and then it would be back to normal. And I think, you know, without him using the term burnout, he was saying, this is much deeper, Lorraine. I really don't think for your health and well-being that going back is going to be the right thing for you. So, you know, that was maybe about the May that he said that, and just for various reasons that we won't go into, it took, you know, another almost 6 months for me to actually be released from the organisation. But I used that time to try and help myself recover. So I live near a beach, and that beach, honest, I say that beach is my lifesaver. I went walking, I went swimming, I took up yoga for the first time, and we did it on the beach, and it wasn't, you know, she was a brilliant teacher. She gave us all that space to really go deep and release emotions as well. So that was super, super helpful. And the counselling was great as well. And I had trained as a coach 3 years previously with the idea of using it in my workplace, and maybe one day when I retire that, you know, I would go out alone. But I went and revisited the work that I'd done there around my values and my strengths and skills, etc. And I thought, do you know what? I could use all this a different way. And I actually went and had a coffee with an ex-colleague, and I was supporting her go through a difficult period in her workplace. And she said, you need to do this, Lorraine. This is what you're good at. This is what you coached us all in the workplace. You helped us develop. You're just a natural, and you need to do it for the HR profession, because it's your gift back, because you've got all that knowledge. And it was like a bit of a light bulb moment. I thought, actually, yes, she's right. So I went and joined a business coaching program, and I also went through, I don't know if you've ever done it, the positive intelligence program.
I've seen some bits and pieces around it. It's not something that I've personally done, no, but I've seen some of the details on it.
So I did that, and that was great. So it really focuses in on your saboteurs, and honest, I was just a bit off the scale with perfectionism. And you go, oh, so I'm a recovering perfectionist now. And when you go through that program, they warn you that it fights back. And I was nearly in the divorce course, because it, like, you know, it ramps back up before you can release it. So these were all really helpful. You know, I felt like I was investing in myself again, because that's one of my values, is, you know, growth and development. So I felt like I was learning and paving the way for a new pathway for me. So, I mean, it took me till the following sort of January to launch as Lorraine Eivers coaching. But I know you said one of your guests this morning had said I'd go through it again to be where I am, and I thought, gosh, would I say that? I wish I hadn't gone through it, but I'm glad that I'm where I am now.
Yeah, I totally get that. I totally get that. So from your perspective, so you've gone through, again, what you will have experienced lots of similar things to lots of people during 2020. You've come through 2021. You've had a colleague maybe assuming that just because of the date, it was to do with the anniversary of losing both your parents, albeit 21 years apart. You've then taken this absence, you've had your coaching, you've had counselling, you've gone back to your strengths, you've started doing your own growth and development, you've come through all of those things. You're glad of where you are now, but we don't want to repeat
No.
of any of that stuff that we've had. So what do you think were some of the early signs that maybe could have prevented, and again, it's a difficult thing to say, isn't it? So some of us, when we go through burnout, there is not a global lockdown that is causing stress and challenges and increased workloads and not being able to speak to people or see people or do any of those things. So lots of those things would have been totally out of your control.
Yeah.
But do you think there were signs in kind of, let's say, 2019 and previous to 2020 that if you had paid attention to might have not necessarily mitigated against it, but maybe changed the severity of the burnout that you went through?
Yes, I think definitely letting go of this control and this need for things to be perfect. So it was causing me internal stress. And I haven't been like that all my life, I don't think. But in that particular job, being, it was my first director role. I'd been in it for some time, but there was additional challenges that were coming, the difficult finance situation, the different regulation challenges around care. So yeah, I know lots of changes in the organisation. So yes, I think if I'd eased up on myself with enough's good enough sometimes, and let go, it's interesting because if you spoke to my team, they would say, oh, Lorraine was a great coach, empowered us, but I think I needed to empower them more and not keep that level of control that doesn't serve you well. And always pushing to achieve, I couldn't stomach a deadline not being met, or and I would work around the clock to make sure that was achieved. So I think these traits that don't serve you well, definitely if I'd eased up on some of them, might have helped
and changed or minimized some of what you were experiencing. Okay, that's useful. Thank you.
And speaking up, Kelly, as well, because if I'd let some of them go, I might have been more comfortable in saying, look, that deadline, we're just going to have to push that to the next month. Feel comfortable going to the board and and my chief executive to get the support to make the workload much more manageable for myself and the team.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. So you've gone through it. You've done the work. You've had, by the sounds of it, some longer challenges. So you couldn't, as you said, we're not going to go into the details. But you've had a long period before you can actually exit where you are. So that must have been, I can only imagine, adding additional challenges and mental, physical, emotional stuff that was going on at that same time. But you then come through it. Potentially you might still be working through some of that stuff. As we know, this isn't, a kind of tick box, okay, job done, we can now kind of park it and move on. But you said you also kind of wanted to share kind of life after burnout and kind of what that looks like. So what would you say to kind of anybody that is either maybe just starting that kind of journey of coming through it, or are just on that kind of road to recovery? What do you think what do you want to share about that?
first I want to share just that fact that you can recover, because I think when you're going in it, just coming out, you just don't think that life can ever be the same again, and that you can. I think something we need to talk about is confidence. It absolutely strips you of your confidence.
Yeah, it does.
And I was used to standing in front of 500 people presenting, and the thought of even speaking to 2 people was filling me with dread. So my confidence was shot. So that's one of the things that I want to say, that you can rebuild yourself and you can rebuild your confidence, taking it slowly and slowly, and always keep an eye on those traits that haven't served you well, and just look out for any signs. Oh, okay, I might be going back down that road again. And I'm super conscious of making sure that my life is not going back to those stress levels again. So when I set out in business, I said, I'm not going to work on a Friday. I'm going to have that time to spend with my sister. So, I protect that time. I'm not working into the night. I take my phone and laptop that don't go near me at evening time. So there's steps you can put in place and learn from what you did in the past, sitting there till midnight in your laptop and your phone beside you, and the first thing you do when you wake up, the last thing you go, so you don't get the proper sleep. So just, getting things like a good, healthy sleep routine in place, watching for those signals that you might be going back down a road, and just doing things to help you grow and develop. So, and I know you're a big yoga fan as well. That's been quite life-changing for me to get into yoga and understand just what the benefits that can give you. I do things like gratitude journaling and normal journaling as well. So just putting steps in place that just make your life more mindful, calm, fulfilled, and you can get back on a pathway to. I'm lucky, Kelly, that I didn't. As far as I'm aware, I've got no lingering long-term health condition, thankfully. I know that I'm blessed in that way, that a lot of people have issues around blood pressure and immune system issues. So thankfully I don't have any of those. But I just want to say that there can be life after burnout, and you just need to do what works for you, to put those steps in place to make sure that you are not heading back down that pathway, and watch for the signals and press that stop button when you feel that you might be going back, and speak to other people. And this is great that you're doing the work that you're doing and you're getting this out there, because one of the things, you feel so damn alone, and also maybe a bit ashamed.
Yeah, shame's come up a lot from the conversation.
That I've failed myself, I've failed my family, I've failed the workplace. That really is a big thing. And I think it was only when I came on to LinkedIn and shared my story that other people were reaching out, and I thought, gosh, and and only now have I realised the wide impact of this. So many people are suffering, and it's why we do what we do. I don't want people to be miserable in their workplace. I don't specialise as a burnout coach, but obviously people that come to me have gone through issues in their workplace. I just want to help them get to that better place where we are. You know, we've come through it. It was hell at the time, but there is life after, and I want to share that with other people. There is life after. You can be happy in your work. You can be in a place where you're respected and valued. You don't need to put up with all of this. It doesn't have to be like that.
I love that. Thank you. I think I'm going to leave it there because I think that's a perfect place to finish. You know that I can talk about this stuff all day, all week, all year.
Too. Yeah.
I think that's a really lovely place to finish, Lorraine. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
We've got your website going along here. So Lorraine Eivers coaching.com. Please do go and connect with Lorraine. Give her a follow on LinkedIn. Again, the majority, in fact, all of Lorraine's work really is around this career coaching for HR professionals. But I'm sure for any of you that are kind of going through that career journey, whether it's changing, stepping up, walking away, or any of that sort of stuff, I'm sure you'll find lots of Lorraine's information really, really useful. So do go and give her a like and a follow over there. Lorraine, just I say, well, let's leave it there. And then I've got my final question. If there was one thing that you would want to leave listeners with today, what would it be?
Don't suffer in silence. Speak out and reach out and get the support that you need.
Thank you. Thank you. There you go, everybody. Yeah, I'm humbled and grateful for to everybody that's coming and sharing their story. Lorraine, I want to say thank you. I think I can feel the emotion and some of the challenges that all of that has kind of brought up for you, and I'm sure for lots of other people watching and listening, you may be feeling the same. If I am going to say, Lorraine has just said there, do not suffer in silence. Some of these conversations were going quite deep. Some of them may be getting you to think, oh, like that's me too. That's where I am. That's what I'm feeling. That's what I'm experiencing. As Lorraine has said there, you do not have to go through this on your own. Reach out to Lorraine, reach out to me, reach out to Michelle, have a conversation with a boss, a manager, a loved one, go and get counselling, coaching, support, whatever it is that you need. We have already this week started to get a lot of messages from people saying, I've just watched this, I've just heard this, I've just listened, and this is where I'm at. And of course, with any of these sorts of things, as we have these conversations and raise the awareness, some of these issues are coming to the forefront for lots of people, whether you're watching us, joining us, or whether somebody's kind of bringing you into this conversation. Now is the time to get help, not tomorrow, not next Monday, not 3 weeks from now. If anything that we are talking about is resonating, listen to what Lorraine's just said. Do not feel that you have to suffer in silence. Have a conversation with somebody now. Reach out now. You are not alone. You haven't failed. There is no shame. There is no guilt. There's no anything that we have to go with. If we are going to reduce these numbers, and again, remember, every single one of those numbers is a person. We are all responsible for that. Nobody is going to wave a magic wand and say, here you go, this is now you sorted. And for a lot of you, I would imagine if you are experiencing anything that Lorraine and our other guests have shared, it's likely that you're holding a lot of that in and hiding a lot of that and keeping a lot of that to yourself. So nobody is going to be able to fix it for you. The first brave step has to start with you. So please reach out to Lorraine, reach out to me, Michelle, anybody within your network, and let's make the change, because we have to stop these numbers from growing. Do go and give Lorraine a follow. As I said, a lot of the stuff that she talks about is not just relevant for HR. If you are going through a career change, growth, development, any of that sort of stuff, go and check out LorraineEiversCoaching.com. Go and give Lorraine a follow on LinkedIn. Give her bell a ring if you want to listen to any of the or find out any of the other resources and posts that she's talking about. I'm going to now stop talking for the rest of today. I'm going to say again, Lorraine, thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you for having me, Kelly.
First few days landing back at work after such an amazing trip. Thank you, everybody, for watching, listening, getting involved. Remember, hashtag Big Burnout Conversation. Keep sharing, keep liking. Michelle is back this afternoon, and we're going to be continuing to flood your social feeds, which we're not sorry about and we don't care. So we're going to see you all soon. Take care for now, everybody. Bye. Lorraine, thanks again.